pleased to be here today with Jeff Stewart, who is the co-founder of the GPO Fund. Also a prolific angel investor, was with the New York Angels, and I think at one point you were listed above Intel as the most prolific connected angel investor.
At the C stage.
Okay, at the C stage. So can you share a little bit about your fund and how you came up with this notion?
Sure. When we started our career, the NASDAQ was a vibrant market. Hundreds of companies went public every year, and we noticed that stopped happening in the US. The US really became a market designed for very, very large companies. And what we noticed was that there were a lot of benefits to going public at a $200, $300 million valuation, and that there was a high demand for this in emerging markets, in the Asia Pacific markets. And we just had this simple idea of, well, why not list, there's hundreds of companies that list here in the US from abroad, why not have US companies list in Asia Pacific? The governance and process of being listed in Asia Pacific is a lot like the NASDAQ used to be back in the 80s and 90s. And we're big fans of it, and we think that the companies we invest in have the advantage of earlier access to that giant public capital pools and are more likely to become the dominant players in their category.
So Jeff, I remember meeting you 2011 or 2012, co-founder of Lendo, and that is a global company now headquartered in Singapore, and you validated a lot of this concept.
Absolutely. What I found when I was CEO of Lendo, we had a global capital table. And what I found was, I would go to a country like Indonesia where I had never done business before, and our investors would connect with me with the right prospects, with the right regulators, with the appropriate people. That was really powerful. We had an opportunity to do a joint venture in South Korea. I'd never done business in South Korea. And I called up one of our investors, and he said, oh, well, here's how you do it. And, now we own about half a company in South Korea, because they were able to sort of walk us through. They were able to validate our counterparties, and we made it a very seamless transaction. I think had our capital table only been Silicon Valley investors, we would have passed on these great opportunities in some of these markets.
Yeah, and if you had just a couple of pieces of advice for an entrepreneur, what might that be?
Well, I think most important is your team. It's really important to have great co-founders and a great core team. I think when you start thinking about backers, I like to think of it as a foundation. Your friends and family and your own money, that validates it. That brings in your angels. The angels kind of validate it for the next stage investors. The next stage investors, if they're good, they're going to have access to the next group. And I think what you're seeing now with the Global Public Offering Fund is that rather than a sort of Series B stage investor thinking, oh, I need to have a relationship with SoftBank, you can actually have the Series B syndicate have investors like the GPO fund who have relationships with the public markets. So essentially, that next round after the public market, that next round of financing can be anywhere in the world, because you're structured in a way that trillions of dollars know how to invest in your equity.
Thank you so much.